And I remember them just telling me, you're the one who chose this course and go and finish it. So in my heart, I'm like, ah. But I still continued, did the actual science until the end. We did two other projects, two other productions separately, not just in the ministry, but now outside before I finished campus. And when I now got into third year, there was an event that was being done by students who are doing hotel and institutional management. And their course was called ECOHIM, Ecotourism, Hotel and Institutional Management, ECOHIM. And they were having their annual dinner. They usually would hold a dinner in Kisumu uh, just to bring in people. It would be a good income generating activity, and it's a good culmination of their whole year. So they were doing that now for when I was now in third year. So I remember they went to my friend who's called Sam Abara, and he had a camera, Fujifilm camera, which he tells me got stolen later. But he was the one who was supposed to go and do photography for that event. And I'd borrowed his camera a number of times just to see how a camera works, just to take photos. And in events, that's what I used to do. And he was unable to go, but he suggested to uh, the people who are doing the event, he can give his camera to me and I'd go to the event. So I remember a friend of mine called Jabi came to me and she was in the class and she told me, this is what we are thinking of. We need some photos, we need a slideshow of the whole event. And are you available to actually do it? It's on a Saturday. It will be in Kisumu. So I told her it's okay. I'm okay with actually doing it, but I don't want to pay for the cuisine, and she was okay with that. So I think that's the very first um, service provider job that I did. So I actually went during that whole event and I was taking photos of everything that was going on, the main event itself, the highlights of the event. So it was at Kisumu Hotel, yes. And I would actually be going around the whole event, just taking photos, different places. And then at the end of the event, I went and did a slideshow that was now, I burnt it on a CD, gave it to Jambi because they needed it from one of the lecturers. They had requested for it. And then the photos that I had taken for that particular event, what I actually did was I went and I printed all those photos. And after printing them, I went to a guy called Edu to print. And he was charging me 8 bob to print just one image. So I went and did a number of them. And there were about 200 or so that I had printed. And then I would carry them in my bag. And everywhere I'd meet someone who was at the event, I'd tell them, by there I have your photo from the event. Would you like to get it? So I'd sell it to them for 20 bob. So I made about like 4,000 bob from just that job. So that was my very, very first photography gig. And just looking back at it, and that's where it all started. So I thought to myself, I can actually make something small from this, and it's something that I enjoy doing. Just taking photos of people is something that I enjoy doing. So that's how it got started. So that uh, that exposure just to photography and all that, when I got out of campus in 2011, and I got out of campus, I wanted to pursue it now. I wanted to just get serious with it, get serious with photography, and do it as a business, because I thought to myself it might actually be something good. So what happened is, once I got out of campus, we hadn't yet graduated yet. I think I had like 2 courses that I needed to redo. So in the meantime, I told myself, you know what, I can still be doing my photography at the same time as I wait to finish the courses in school. And that was it. And I remember I sat down with a friend of mine, his name is Jackton, and he had done media. He had a similar idea in his mind to start a company as well. And he had an office on Moy Avenue, Diamond Plaza, third floor. So that's where it started. It was just the two of us. And he was starting his own company, and I was thinking of starting mine as well. So at that time, the company was called Higher Heights Productions. So when we started at that particular time, I hadn't gotten any events, but you know, you start with a brand name, you start with a dream, you start with a vision. That's how it started. So we started in that room, and we wanted to get into photography and video, especially for weddings. And I remember he had a couple of equipment. He had video cameras. He had 2 video cameras, and he had a photo camera as well, a Nikon D90D. Is it a 90D? No, D90. He had a Nikon D90, and that is what we used for the first wedding. So we did the first wedding at the end of 2011. It was a Kenyan and Ugandan. I think the bride was called Grace. It was Grace and Kevin, if I'm not wrong. So that was the very first wedding that we did. So we went into that wedding. He was doing management of the team itself, and I was the lead photographer for that day. So I had to also be, look like the expert that I am. I really want to look like the expert that I am. So we did that event. We did great work for that particular client, and that's how it started. So that very first event that we did in 2011 just showed me that this is possible. This is something that you can do, So when we now got started completely, we did a number of events together where he'd call me in to do photography. But for me now, it got to a point where now I'm being asked in the house, so what are you going to be doing? Where is money going to be coming from? You finished campus, you need to be doing something. And that is how I got into banking.